Music is something truly special in our world. Music transcends barriers like language, culture, or experiences. It's a universal tongue that we can all understand. Music conveys emotions and atmospheres, which makes it an incredible tool for communication. The beauty of sound and its immense variety is astounding, and what it can do for us is even more amazing. Different media use music in unique ways. TV often uses it to build onto drama and capture the events of the show. Movies do this too, but to a greater extent. The media I want to focus on today, though, is video games. I know I talk about video games almost exclusively, but that is because I was a shut-in child and video games are cool, so suck it up. Video games are unique to other media because they are directly interacted with by the player in real time. This allows for an extra sense of emotion and immersion for the player through the gameplay and the music presented by the game. In this series, I want to cover some of the different types of things that video game music conveys, some of the feelings it evokes in the player, and how the music style brings the player further into the game. Talking on bringing the player into the game, there is no better example I know for music style than Speed. Fast-paced, heart-pounding, and energy-filled music that adds a sense of brutality and action to the playing field. One of the best genres of music that uses this style is metal, and one of the best game series that uses this genre for the purpose of speed and brutality is Doom. Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 both do an exceptional job at having music that not only fits within their gameplay, but also fits as music that you can listen to normally. Mick Gordon did an amazing job making the music for both these games, even though his conditions for making Eternal were pretty rough. The songs in these games take on the perfect example of engagement. The gameplay of Doom is very fast-paced, and if you aren't moving, then you likely won't live very long. The music helps to convey this sense of urgency, this sense of motion that you need to stay alive. It only gets better in Doom Eternal since that game gives you more to do movement-wise. Songs like Metal Hell, The Only Thing They Fear Is You, and BFG 10,000 all increase this sense of speed and brutality. It's not just about going fast, it's also about destroying everything in your path, ripping and tearing until it is done. That is what Doom's soundtrack does best for keeping the player engaged with the game. It focuses on all aspects of the gameplay while keeping the player engaged with everything from the dashing around to the glory kills. It is straight brutality everywhere you go, and that fits the Slayer perfectly. Another game with fast-paced beat-em-up brutality is Metal Gear Rising. Metal Gear Rising has some extremely memorable tracks that pump that sense of speed and violence into the player. Some of those tracks being Rules of Nature, The Only Thing I Know for Real, Collective Consciousness, and It Has to Be This Way. This game's music goes above and beyond what is needed to set you up as a cyborg soldier fighting to stop the spread of corruption in the world. There were times playing this game where I would be so in tune with what was happening that I would just start singing along to the lyrics while hitting parries and beating up bosses. I want to give a shout out to Jamie Christopherson, the composer for MGR. Jamie Christopherson did a great job with the MGR soundtrack, and I want to give him the credit he deserves for his work here. I like how the chorus for these songs only really comes in when the fights get to their tipping point. There's a lot of good videos out there showcasing this. The synchronization of the music and gameplay in MGR is what keeps me coming back to fight its bosses over and over again. The only other game OST I can think of that stands on the same ground as MGR is Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry having songs like Devil Trigger, Bury the Light, and Subhuman. Devil May Cry 5 was my first Devil May Cry game, mostly because of memes, and I wasn't expecting the music to go as hard as it did. Every time I entered combat, I was met with a track unique to the character I was playing that pumped up that feeling of pure destruction. Bury the Light and Subhuman are two of my favorite tracks from DMCV because I feel they do this the best. Also, Bury the Light is just like one of the best songs I've heard in a long time. Boss themes in Devil May Cry, while not having lyrics, still have this same feeling of speed and brutality, at least for the most part. There are some here and there that don't do this as much. One thing I like about Devil May Cry 5's soundtrack is the inclusion of unique battle themes for each character. It makes it feel like this fight isn't just another fight, but it's also that specific character's fight. And all of those themes being as brutal as they are is beautiful in some awesome, twisted way. Okay, I would probably be publicly executed if I didn't include Need for Speed while talking about fast-paced music in games. The Need for Speed series is full of music that gets you racing. The one Need for Speed game that sticks out in my mind here is Need for Speed Most Wanted. Most Wanted is probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest game in the entire Need for Speed series. It takes the racing aspect of other games and turns it up to a new level by upping the throttle and pushing this sense of aggression into it. That is increased further through the use of its soundtrack, which is mostly composed of industrial and electronic tracks. And whenever you get into the action, all that fades away and turns into this really pumped up orchestral bonanza of just awesomeness. I can't explain it. It's there's a video by Noodle that he did for the entire series, and he describes it perfectly. He talks about that way better than I ever could. Most Wanted is the perfect example of a game that takes speed into absolute priority, and I've never found myself more focused and going fast than when I played this game. Most Wanted is tense and chaotic. It is pure speed, and I would like nothing more from a game that wants you to go fast. Speed is a style of music that is far more engaging than many others. I feel that is mostly because of how much adrenaline it hits you with. It's like Adderall for your ears. Personally, I'm a metalhead, so these songs speak to me in a way that not many others do, which is funny, because I used to make calm, lo-fi beats in my spare time, which makes no sense considering the music I listen to on my daily basis. The sheer sense of speed and motion that these songs put you in really get your blood pumping and your mind racing. It keeps the pace increased and your brain stimulated to the highest degree. But what would happen if that all just stopped?